All right, welcome back. If you came from the other video, this is the Reddit scraping demo, a really quick demo just on how to make a Reddit account, get an API key, and just start getting some real data in. I've got this data available. Oh, I'm going to send these things in the chat real quick, sorry. So I've just linked to the UK Data Service GitHub, where I'm hosting this file that you can see right now, but I also have what's called a binder link, and that will let you open and explore this kind of data without needing to install anything, without needing to set up any install Python, install packages, that kind of stuff. I've done that for you, and you should be able to run this in your browser. So if you click on one of these things called cells, you'll see this little highlight on the left-hand side. So to run that cell, you can just go in here, run, and click run selected cell. If you want, you can run all cells, and then you don't have to do it one at a time, but run selected cell or shift enter, and it'll just move on from that cell to the next one. And that's how you know it's done. Cool. So I've made this little handy bit up here where we can put our API keys, but we'll come back to that later. And the general gist of it is that if we use this package called PRAW, Python Reddit API Wrapper, we can basically get hundreds of comments per request. We can scrape thousands of comments in a matter of minutes, and it's quite easy to do. So to get started, you'll need a few things installed. You'll need Python, and you'll need pip or some variation of that. I recommend you install something called Anaconda if that sounds too scary, but you don't need to do this now. I'm just showing you, if you wanted to install it all yourself, that's how you do it. This cell would install that in this binder if you're looking at that, but you don't actually need to do that because I've already done it for you. So then running this cell will import PRAW, that Reddit API wrapper. So if you do shift enter in here, it'll run it. And then I'm just printing out the version so we can see if it's successfully installed. So I can see that, yeah, I've got access to version 7.8.1 of PRAW. Then I'm just going to install a bunch of other helper stuff. So pandas is going to help us put things into what's called a data frame, just a very handy table of data that we can manipulate. OpenPixel is going to OpenPyXL is going to let us output this to an Excel spreadsheet. And then this is from datetime. Datetime's just going to let us standardize the date times that we're getting into a format that we need. It needs to be slightly different for Excel, for example. So first thing we need to do is get those API keys here. So I've completely listed what that process looks like here. But the gist of it is you go to Reddit and you make, where did that open there? Oh, go to Reddit and you're going to make a new account here. So somewhere up here, there'll be a login or a sign up button. When you make a new account, you'll see a blank page like this and a bunch of information. Then from there, you want to go into this preferences section up here. And then up here, there's an app button. And I've already made an app, and I think you can only create one app at a time now. And so this up here is what's called the public key. Remember I said that every API key has like a public part and a private part, like a username and password. So this is that public one. So if we take that value, go up to the top and put it in this one, the client ID. And then opening up. So I would say, if you're not running a workshop on this, never show this to anyone, never open up this bit. This is the secret key. With these two, you can log in now to this scraper account that I've made, and you could delete it. You could do all sorts of stuff, but it's purely made for this demo, so I don't really mind if you do that. But yeah, you should definitely get your own ones because I might delete that and your work might not work in a few weeks or something. Okay, so I just press shift enter in there to make sure that runs. That's just to make it a bit tidier later on. And then when you do this, you can just drop them in the top and you don't have to worry about it again. So first one, this is how we can get all comments from a single Reddit post. So I've got an example post here, someone who'd like to visit Ghana, and what do they need to know, basically? So we've got a bunch of upvoted comments on advice on where people should go, someone who's happy, stuff like that, some very specific recommendations of places to go. So this looks like it might be interesting for our potential research project. Oh, I forgot to send the Biden link as well. Sorry, so if you click... Oh, no, I did send that. Okay. Right, so first thing we need to do is authenticate with Python. The PRAW package does this, so as you can see, that's our client ID and client secret, those two values we just got from Reddit. And then there's this other one that's a little bit weird, Python test script VO1. Basically, you don't have to put this user agent in, but if you don't, Reddit might block you. So this is where we basically say, you know, what's your purpose? Why are you scraping? And they might look at this and it might say, I don't know, Google web scraper or something, and they might think that sounds sort of trustworthy. So this is just the bare bones one you can put for a small research project or hobbyist project, basically. Should probably put my username there. Anyway, Shift Enter, so we run that, no problems. Next, we're going to get that submission. So I've stored the URL of that Reddit post, and then we're just calling that with this Reddit submission object. Then we're going to iterate over all the comments and reduce that to a list with this line. And then this line is going to manipulate that into more of a refined object that we can just quickly look at. And then in the final step, I'm just printing 5 comments from that. Oh, no, I'm not. Date time is not defined. Did I run that? Cool, so now we've got 5 comments, so we can see we've got this auto mod comment, we've got some very explicit recommendations for lakes and stuff like that. All I'm really checking here is if this looks correct. I don't know where those comments are. I think one of this one. Yeah, there we go. So that's that first comment we've got there. They're probably in the order. But yeah, we can see we've definitely got comments from that post. If I put it in a data frame, I can just very quickly see that data as well, and I can list some information about it. So I can see I've got 42 comments. It's not a lot, but does that stack up? We've got 51 comments in here. So scraping has worked, but something's getting trimmed off or something there. Maybe these deleted comments or something like that. Oh, sorry, 42 entries. Where did I get that from? Anyway, we'll leave it like that so we can see, look, we've got the authors of each comment, we've got the upvote score, we've got the time it was created. You know, they're all created a few days apart, which is pretty common for Reddit. But on a larger post, they might just keep going and going. And then we've got the body of each message. So one comment, just to mention here, auto moderator is a bot used to manage a subreddit. So it's likely that this comment will be the first comment on every post on this subreddit, for example. So then we can run this, and that will save that data to a CSV, which can be opened in Excel. Or if you more explicitly want it to be saved as an Excel spreadsheet, you can run this. And that will do the same thing. That seems to have worked. And you'd have to browse to that to get that data anyway. So that's one Reddit post with like 50 comments. That's not great. So what I've done here is I've made a version where you can just put lots of URLs in, comma separated, and that way we can get a larger amount of data. So this will give us about 700 comments from these 3. It's exactly the same as the one before, except now we're iterating over those URLs in a for list and then just putting them all together. So this should take a little bit longer to run because we've got 700 comments instead of 50, for example. And this is useful because you can jump around a bunch of different posts. This is the data set we're going to be using for other parts of today's work, basically. So again, I can see, you know, that exact same comment from the first one. Stuff seems to be about Ghana. It looks good. So if I put it in a data frame again, I can see what I've got here. I added a bit more detail in this one with the because now we're looking at different posts. I wanted to add the post ID and the post title and just see if that gives us any more information. So we can see here we've got, the URL for the post, we've got the post ID, post title, author, score, the time it was created, and the comment. At the moment, I can only see one post, so I might run this tail function instead of head, just to see that, yeah, I am getting at least something from two different fields. And I think I can do post title dot value counts. There we go. So that we'll see. Now we can see sort of how weighted that's going to be. So we've got 500 comments from Tell Me Interesting about Ghana. We've got 229 from Highly Recommend Ghana, and we've got 42 from What Should I Know About Ghana. So it's not an equal split, but it's worth keeping that in mind later when we come to any analysis. And then again, I've got something to save it to a CSV. I've got something to save it to an Excel spreadsheet. And if none of this is working for you, I've got all of this data is available on the GitHub in this data folder here under those exact same names. So even if it's not working, you can go find that data yourself. All right, and then, this is a very curated approach that requires you to find individual posts you're interested in. But I would just recommend going to an individual subreddit. So we've got the Ghana subreddit itself. And this will just be today's posts from this Ghana subreddit, which might not be particularly interesting depending on what your topic is. But sometimes I find, searching by top, looking at an entire year or something like that, we might find something a bit more interesting, the more viral posts that have taken off. But yeah, again, it depends, good food in Dubai, for example, that might be irrelevant to your study, but we're sort of hoping that, a large portion of people in this subreddit live in Ghana or have an informed opinion about Ghana, basically. So in here, we set that subreddit name. We can say get the top 100 posts from the last year. That's probably too much. I'm going to do 25. So that will give us this one page probably. So this whole page should be 25 posts until it loads there. So we're going to get all the comments from all of these. So if you have a look, some of them are like 200 comments. Some of them are most of them are about 50 to 100. So we're probably only going to get a couple of thousand, if that, maybe about 1,000 comments. And then exactly the same data. So I put that filter in there, the filter for the year, the filter for the number of posts I want. So if you wanted that 100, you could just do 100 there. You should be safe to go pretty large in this regard, but we might need to delay the requests anyway. So yeah, just running that. Shouldn't take too long for 25 posts. And when it's done, we'll see 5 comments print out at the bottom here. There we go. So we've got a lot of comments on this Bolt driver one. That seemed to be the first post up here anyway. So let's put that in a data frame just to tidy it up. So again, we can see the post title Bolt driver. That totally makes sense. First comment was by auto moderator. And then we've got a few nice comments from that first post. Again, we can do, what was it? Post title value counts, and just see how many comments we got from each post. So our most one is, "Are Ghana girls all like this?" Something about world politics, scam. So there's lots of very strange top posts in there, but it's a good way to get just hundreds of comments by looking at these top posts. And we can run info just to see we've got 2,000 comments from that. And you can use the describe function to get some mathematical data. We don't have a lot of that. We've just got the date it was made and the score. But just from running this, I can see that the average comment, gets about 4 upvotes. Someone has a -44 downvoted comment, so that somewhere there's something that's obviously very controversial. It might be worth looking at. It might just be racist or sexist or something. And the highest upvoted comment has 165. So looking at those two comments might give some insight or inspiration for what we look at next. And then we can see the dates things were posted by. So we've got stuff from April 2024 all the way up to August 2025. And then again, we can write them to CSV, we can write them to Excel. That's up to your preference. But next, we're going to analyze the data from that second scrape. This one. We're going to analyze this in both Excel and in Python, and then you can choose which one you like. So yeah, that's all for now. I'll see you in a second again. I'm just going to move over to another one, but I'll clip this as a video here, so you'll have to go find it on the channel. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope that helped.